Greetings, my fellow freedom load-solving thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the wild, wonderful Mountain State, and today's date is Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. Yes, if you want to check out the Cyber Symposium by Mike Lindell from My Pillow, it is live. You can probably go to frankspeech.com. If not, brighton.tv, which is Mike Adams' pet peeve. His little live feed channel was supposed to be on the air August 24th. However, the symposium is essential, so I recommend everyone checking that out. It'll be 72 hours, so expect recordings and all that during the middle of the night, which is good. So, a lot bigger than what's really happening, so just to let you know, especially with the elections. And Mike Lindell still pushed that envelope, and I give him props because a lot of people just build it up to deal with it. You can't do that because I was like watching a glimpse of it. And of course the Brazilian president's concerned too. He's supposed to be over there speaking as well. So it's like politicians from other nations are examining this presentation. Because remember this, folks. They can do it to Donald Trump, they can do it to anyone else, whether you like him or not. And people that know me on this show, I am not a Trump worshiper by any means. I'm just looking at this on an election integrity basis. We all know tampering of this avenue has been abused everywhere around the world, including the United States, but it's getting too obvious. It's like when they decided to use that black box balloting, electronic balloting agenda around 2000 after the Bush-Gore election. That was a big red flag, and I've warned people about this for a little over 20 years now. So, I'm not the crazy one. Just always got to seek that truth, right? Yeah, and wow. Just so many things are happening, and just couldn't put my head around it. And of course, the infrastructure bill got passed just recently by the U.S. Senate. 2,700 pages of garbage, tyranny, technocracy, etc. So all those people, senators that voted for it, you call them out. They're anti-freedom scumbags. Doesn't matter what party they're in. Even in the House of Representatives, too. There's one person in my district. I despised him because his voting skills are horrendously unacceptable. So, just... Well, and so I would always recommend the Anti-Commandeering Doctrine. Like every state in the union should tell them to stick it, including the plants. And you know what? It can be done. So don't even say it's over. Nothing's over. Humanity never ends their destiny. So and their visions. Doesn't matter whether they're young or old. Well, that's be enough of that. So check all that out. Speaking of Feds Know Best, we're gonna be I'm just like browsing through about the CDC moratorium, which I do find it unconstitutional, and I say that with love. And here, boom. Yeah, this one here came from the newamerican.com. And this is written today. It's by Michael Tennant. It says here, Biden's eviction moratorium has no binding authority, says Ohio court. An Ohio court declared Thursday that Biden administration's reinstated moratorium on tenant evictions will not be enforced within its jurisdiction. According to WXIX-TV, after the judges of the Hamilton County Municipal Court voted to whether to enforce the moratorium, the court issued a statement saying the ban has no binding authority in Hamilton County. Under former President Trump, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention first instituted a nationwide ban on evictions last September. Following the expiration of a congressional-imposed moratorium, Congress later extended the ban through the end of January, and the CDC lengthened it thrice more. Landlords, furious at seeing their property rights eviscerated, filed suit. Federal District and Appeals Court offered conflicting opinions on the legality of the ban, leaving the Supreme Court to make the final decision. The High Court ruled 5-4 in June that the CDC has exceeded its statutory authority. A concurring opinion by Justice Brett Kavanaugh stated, clear and specific congressional authorization via new legislation would be necessary for the CDC to extend the moratorium past January 31st. Constitutionalists, of course, recognize that a congressional ban would be just as unconstitutional as an executive one, but at the latest, Kavanaugh understood that only Congress, not the President, is empowered to make law. Okay. I'll carry on here. On July 29th, the White House issued a statement seemingly accepting the Supreme Court's decision. While President Biden would have strongly supported a decision by the CDC to further extend this eviction moratorium, the statement reads, the Supreme Court has made clear that this option is no longer available. Thus, Biden instead asked Congress to extend the moratorium. 5 days of congressional inaction later, Biden had the CDC extend the moratorium anyway. Biden admitted that he is extending the moratorium knowing that the bulk of a constitutional scholars say is not likely to pass constitutional muster. And that's his plan to run out the judicial clock, since by the time it gets litigated, it will probably give some additional time for the administration to get that $45 billion out of the people who are, in fact, behind in rent and don't have the money reported to New American. The president may have been a little too optimistic. Just 2 days later, the Ohio judges quite properly nullified his action, at least in Hamilton County. They did not rely directly on the Supreme Court's findings. However, instead, reported WXIX they based their decision on July 23rd ruling from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, perhaps in part because that court is seated in Cincinnati, the county seat of Hamilton County. That decision was cited. Kavanaugh's concurring opinion found that the new law under which the CDC claimed the authority to impose its ban was not as conspicuous as the government contends, and therefore the ban was illegal. There is no clear expression of congressional intent to convey such as expansive grant of agency power, and we will not infer one, the judges wrote. The Hamilton County judges, it must be noted, decided against the prolonged moratorium in the face of intense political pressure to ratify it. According to WVXU, officials and community leaders gathered in front of the county courthouse Thursday morning with two messages for the judges. Number one, if you're a tenant or a landlord, there is still millions of dollars available for emergency rental assistance and utilities assistance available that you right now, said Aftab Purvell, Hamilton County Clerk of Courts. And number two, we together strongly urge the court to honor the CDC moratorium. In the middle of a pandemic, and yes, we are still in the middle of this pandemic, it is wrong to evict people. Apparently, though it's perfectly acceptable to destroy landlords' livelihoods, not to mention their ability to maintain their properties in the middle of a pandemic, that Purvell and other politicians hope to continue exploiting in perpetuity. Unfortunately, the judges were not swayed by these appeals. Instead, they correctly held that executive branch has no authority to regulate beyond that granted by Congress. Constitutions can only hope this is the first in a long line of courts to repudiate Biden's self-confessed power grab. Well, what can I say about that? The judges respectfully made the right decision. And the truth of the matter is, my friends, is a thing called 10th Amendment. So they can use this Anti-Commandearian Doctrine. It is about constitutionality. All right? And in the past, Federalist Papers 46, done by Alexander Hamilton, addressed that. And of course, the case in 1842, Prigg versus Pennsylvania, justice held that federal government could not force states to implement or carry out the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793. Okay, I'll just give you one of those examples. Of course, Prince versus the U.S., which is mainly the when Sheriff Prince and Mack challenged the United States government on the Brady Law, which was a 10th Amendment conflict. And of course, they went to the Supreme Court and won. And those are the keys. No determination constitutionality is necessary to invoke the Anti-Commandeering Doctrine. And of course, states and local governments can refuse to enforce federal laws or implement federal programs for any reason they choose. They can prohibit or limit cooperation with the feds because they think the feds are acting outside their constitutional limits, or simply because it's Tuesday and there is snow on the ground. Okay, so just to give you some of those, and it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, anyone can do it. It's just the whole thing is the fact. And of course, the crux of the Anti-Commandeering Doctrine is that the state has the right to direct its personnel and resources as it sees fit. It can prohibit the enforcement of federal laws or the implementation of federal programs for any reason at all. That's exactly what these sanctuary jurisdictions are doing. You know, the Second Amendment, and of course the legal immigration, which, you know, like I said, I have different views on the legal immigration, of course. That's why the states can say no. So this is how it can be done. So this is why it's good to know these things. And the judges sent a message by saying no. This program is illegitimate. And don't get me wrong, there's some good folks out there that got screwed on this, and they became the victims as well on not falling behind in their rent and all that, you know. And there's some good folks out there with families, and of course how they did things in the Jim Jones of business, essentially non-essential. I can say I'm a victim of that because my industry has got shut down in those 8-9 months, and it's not as consistent. Yeah, I heard it from it, but instead of myself sitting there complaining, I had to take action, and things I was doing, I achieved. So I could I'm satisfied in that aspect, in that matter. But the whole thing is just a real shame that people fell for this completely, and not many of them questioning it. Now it's coming out of the woodworks by saying this whole there's no CDC made a statement. There's no actual isolated information pertaining to the COVID-19. So now it's coming to realize, many people say it's a complete hoax. Peter King from Alberta had a interview with Stu Peters, and he shared the documents on all that as well. I recommend you guys check that out. StuPeters.tv. Look up Peter King, CDC hoax, or the COVID-19 hoax. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people got ill was on in this matter, but I always been convinced it was a bioweapon, because some people may call it spike proteins, which I can say, yeah, that is possible too. The whole thing's synthetic. Even if you go to SARS, if you know about the SARS-CoV-1, the first, it's already been patented. Just looked up the patent number for SARS-CoV-1 for CoV-1. So it's not done by nature. It's just man-made. They call it a Franken virus. And people need to start looking at these things. And a lot of good folks out there too suffer from it. Don't get me wrong. And others, but however, there's a 99% plus recovery, and many people got affected differently. I know I have a friend of mine that does a lifeguard in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was on a ventilator when he got it. He was supposed to be a healthy guy. And I'm not, that's why I'm not saying it's a whole conspiracy theorist. But I always examine things thoroughly, observe responsibly. Now, hey, if I make an error, I'll admit that too. Like Mike Adams did when he questioned input from both Rappaport and David Icke and even one of the doctors. At least he admitted he wants to apologize. And I think you know what? They'll accept that. Because the whole thing is, hey, we've all made our errors. There's people I know did the same thing. And I questioned some stuff. They jumped the gun for a moment, but they looked into it. They said, Craig, you're right. I'm like, well, thank you. At least you've seen it. At least you looked into it. That's the name of the game, folks. We can better ourselves. Even with this, we can't overcome. Don't let these statist parasites tell you any different. Such as the CDC. Alright? Because even too, the whole thing with the nasal test, they call it, PRC test, they're scrapping that starting December 31st this year. Because there's no accurate reading. And I've taken it a couple times, don't get me wrong, which people were shocked. However, I know others that got it, they had no nose issues, infections in due time. So I'm like, no, that's it. But I wouldn't recommend people doing it. Okay, so always be vigilant, stay informed, and stand for what's right. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, if something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to the quorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles, of these episode on my Spreaker page. Got a little tongue tie there. If you want to reach me, you can go to Loki Luck number 03 at protonmail.com. If you want to do a donation, you can go to paypal.me or cash.app/Loki Luck number 3. If you want to support the New American and the 10th Amendment Center, because I didn't read its entirety, but I'm just giving you the basic rundown because I have talked about this in the past about Anti-Commandeering Doctrine. If you want to support those two organizations, subscribe. That would be awesome because, hey, we want you guys to be educated, not be dumb, stagnant, and happy, okay? All right. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you.